What's up, punks? We are back with another vlog. This one is our second and final session from the Tampa Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. If you like to see people light money on fire, this is the vlog for you. I go brain dead for a little while in the middle of this session, but am I still able to pull out a win? You'll just have to wait till the end to find out. So, without further ado, let's get to some hands. We settle in to open this session up, and the first hand that we decide to play, we look down at the Moron Brothers.
They are the Moron Brothers, don't get along with others.
That's right, pocket jacks in the cutoff. While the brothers are not usually nice to us, we still have to raise here, so we make it $20 to go. Only the big blind calls, and we're off to a heads up flop with $42 in the pot, and we see ace 10 8 all spades. The big blind checks to me, and without the jack of spades, I check back for pot control. The turn brings the 5 of clubs, and now the big blind leads out for $20. We can't necessarily give him credit here for a better hand, so we call. With $82 in the pot now, we see the king of diamonds on the river. Not a good card for us. The villain leads out for $55 again. In the moment, I was a non-believer and called only to be shown ace 5 offsuit. Of course, the Moron Brothers got us again. In retrospect, this is the type of hand that I need to be folding more often on the river because, especially at these stakes and spots like these, he is not going to bet this river without a hand that beats my pocket jacks here. The next hand we get involved with, we upgrade a little bit from the last hand to pocket queens under the gun +1. The button straddle is on this hand. Small blind and big blind both just flat. I make it $60 to go. The button and the small blind both fold, but the big blind comes along. With $140 in the pot, we see a flop of 7-6-2 rainbow. The big blind checks to us, and we think that since he called our 3-bet, he will have something he can call with. So we size up a bit to $80. Eventually, the big blind decides on a fold. So we're not really sure if this sizing was good or if he would have called to a smaller bet. But I figured, like I said, after he called a 3-bet, he might have something to come along with in this hand, even ace high. But apparently either he had complete air or was really speculative here. A couple orbits later, we are under the gun +1 again and are dealt jack 10 offsuit. Under the gun limps and we open for $20. The under the gun player is the only caller and we're off to a flop with $47 in the pot. That flop is 996. When under the gun checks to us, we check back for pot control here as this flop really doesn't hit our pre-flop raising range at all. The turn is the 4 of hearts. Under the gun checks again, so we decide to take the lead here and bet out for $30. Under the gun calls. Now we have a pot of $107 and the river comes off the 5 of clubs. Now under the gun decides to donk lead for $55. This is an easy fold for us with no pair, so we just muck our hand and move along to the next one. So far this session has been a bit on the boring side. We have a few small wins, but mostly just hands that we've raised and missed and just been bleeding off chips. Eventually, we look down at pocket 10s in the small blind. Hijack opens to $20, cutoff just flat calls, and then when it's on the button, he 3-bets to $70. We tank a bit thinking that this is a small 3-bet and that it's a good candidate to set mine. So we call, and to my relief, the hijack and cutoff both just call. With $285 in the pot, we see a flop of 10-7-4 with the 10-7 of spades.
Hulk! Smash!
Doesn't get much better than this. We flop a set and we have a well-disguised hand. We check for deception and the hijack and cutoff both check as well. The button now leads out for an over pot bet of $300. I am salivating at this point and I'm hoping that we can get stacks in here. He has me covered and I have about 800 behind. I doubt the hijack or the cutoff will call if I just call based on their body language. So I decide to go for it and rip it in for 800 effective. The hijack and cutoff both fold, and now it's on the button. And he goes into the tank, and he's thinking. Then he starts complaining how he always ends up paying off sets when he has aces in positions like this. The longer he thinks, the more I think he's going to call, but ultimately he folds face up. I think my read is good here since he had such a hard time laying down the hand, but maybe if I would have just called and let him blast off the turn, we could have got the rest of it. But it's hard to say when we knew he had aces. We knew he was the type of player who probably would pay it off, but this is the one time that he lays it down. And later on, we're talking, and he says the last 3 sessions he had, that's exactly how he got busted, was sets versus aces. So I think that sting has been still in his mouth, and he decided this time it wasn't going to get him, and he folded. Unfortunately, that was the time that we flopped the set against him, but hopefully we can get his stack in another hand. We are starting to notice a trend develop when we pick up another premium in the small blind again with pocket kings. A player in middle position who has been blasting off chips left and right opens to $15. The cutoff and the button both call, and I 3-bet to $65. All 3 players call, which is not good for us. So we go to a flop 4 ways with $260 in the pot, and we see 8-9-4. Flop is okay for us, so we lead out for $105. Only that middle position player who's been spewing off chips calls, the other 2 fold. With $470 in the pot now, the turn is the 2 of diamonds. Still a pretty clean board for us, so I size up to $225 here, and the villain flats again. With $920 in the pot, we see a river of the 5 of spades. I go for one last street of value, and I go big. I bet about half pot of $400. The villain says, I can't beat queens, and calls. We table our king, and he mucks, and we scoop a pot of $1,725. He must have had some jacks that he really got sticky with and just couldn't get away from, with them being an overpair to the board, and we appreciate the donation. With things turning around this session, I get a little frisky and I open queen jack offsuit to $20 from under the gun +2. We get called by the small blind, and with a pot of $45, we see a flop of 8-9-4 with the 8-4 of clubs. 2 overs, a gut shot, backdoor club draw isn't bad for us, so when the small blind checks to us, we see bet for $35. Small blind looks us up. With $115 in the pot, the turn brings us the queen of hearts. Now with top pair to go along with our gut shot, when the small blind checks to us, we put the pressure on and we size up to $60. Small blind folds without too much thought, and we scoop another small pot here. The trend of getting premium hands in the blinds continues when we look down at ace-king offsuit in the big blind. The player in middle position makes it $20 to go. It folds around to me, and I decide to get a little tricky here and just call to disguise the strength in my hand. With $42 in the pot, we see a flop of queen 10-6 rainbow. It's not a bad flop for us with 2 overs and a gut shot, but we continue our story here and just check. The villain continues for $35, and we call. With $112 in the pot, we get the ace of spades on the turn. We improve to top and continue the story we've been telling by checking again. The villain now sizes up to $85. There isn't a lot for us to be worried about here, and we can go for extra value here or on the river. I don't want to show too much strength here, as I could scare off a lot of hands that we might be beating, and so I decide that I'm going to make my move on the river. With that in mind, we call. The pot is now $282, and we get the 4 diamonds on the river. This card shouldn't change anything, so we lead out now for $110. The villain doesn't take long to decide to call, assuming we're good, until the villain turns over ace-6 offsuit. I'm not sure if a 3-bet pre-flop would have gotten him to fold at any point, since he did open ace-6 offsuit. So all things considered, we may have lost the minimum here. The very next hand, we look down at pocket 3s in the small blind. The hijack raises to $20. Cutoff, myself, and the big blind all call. With $80 in the pot, we're off to a flop of 10-6-6 rainbow. We miss here and we check. The big blind checks and the hijack checks as well. The cutoff then decides to take a stab at stealing the pot with a bet of $40. I'm a non-believer here and I call, only to have the hijack call behind me, and I immediately figure that I am dead to a 3 here. With $200 in the pot, we get exactly the card we need with the 3 of hearts. I check now for deception, hoping that one of these two will bet out. Unfortunately, they both check behind. We go to a river and see the king of hearts. I put out a pot-sized bet of $200 here to make it look like I'm trying to steal, only to see the hijack shove for $370 total behind me. The cutoff quickly folds, and we figure we are only behind bigger boats, which isn't that likely the way the hands played out, but we are beating all the flushes and 6x hands that could have come off that are more likely when the hijack checked the flop. With it being only $170 more for a pot of $770, so we're getting about 4.5 to 1 here, I make the call only to be shown the oddly played pocket kings from the hijack. I guess this odd play got him the max value, as if he would have bet the flop, I probably would have folded if the cutoff had called, and if he would have jammed on the turn, I would have gotten it in anyway with my boat. So I think aside from him betting out the flop, there was no way we were getting away from this one. 3 hands later, I am in the hijack and I look down at Jack 8 of diamonds. Under the gun +1, and middle position player all limp, and I raise to $35. Small blind, under the gun +1, and middle position player all call, so obviously my bet here was too small. With $180 in the pot, we see a flop of 8-7-4 with the 8-7 of clubs. Small blind immediately leads out for $100 here. It folds to me, and this bet, along with the small blind's nervous body language, make me think that he is not that strong, so I call. 380 in the pot, and we get the 3 of diamonds on the turn. This shouldn't change much, and when the villain bets out $225 looking even more nervous, we kind of go brain dead here. Logic would state a player that's this nervous and firing to a pre-flop raiser would easily have a better hand than pocket 8s. However, I was not back in my right mind after those 2 previous hands, and I convinced myself that he's on a club draw, and I call. With $830 in the pot, we see the 10 of hearts on the river. The villain now bets for $350. This is such an easy fold if I were thinking. However, as I mentioned, my brain shut off for a minute here and my testosterone kicked in, and I hero call with second pair only to be shown pocket 7s for a flop set. I just gave away all of my profits for this session in one incredibly awfully played hand. Luckily, I don't go brain dead too often, and I have tattooed this one on my mind so that I learn a lesson from it, that it's okay to fold sometimes, even if you may have the best hand. If you feel that you have an edge on the game, take advantage of the spots where you know you are ahead and stay disciplined and just pick better spots. You don't have to be a hero. We take a quick break and walk around for a little bit to get that last hand off of our mind. When we come back, we eventually pick up Jack 10 of clubs in the low jack, and we raise to $20. Only the big blind calls. With 42 in the pot, we see a flop of 9-7-4 rainbow. We have 2 overs and a gut shot, and when the big blind checks to us, we continue for $40. The big blind quickly calls. With 122 in the pot, we get the queen of spades on the turn. We improve to an open-ender here, and when the villain checks to us again, we size up to $90. This proves to be too much for the villain, and he folds, and we're able to take down this one with just jack high. The last hand we play this evening, we get another visit from the Moron Brothers.
They are the moron brothers. Don't get along with others.
We see pocket jacks in the hijack. Middle position player limps, and we raise to $20. The middle position player just flats. With 47 in the pot, we smash this flop. When it comes ace, jack, 6, rainbow. Middle position player checks. I continue for $50, trying to string him along or even induce a raise. Unfortunately, the villain had nothing to call with and just folds. Add a little to my stack here, but really was hoping for more, especially since the brothers didn't work out for me the first hand, but at least they didn't crush my soul this time. All right, punks, this was our second and final session from the Tampa Hard Rock Casino, and we were able to pull it out in the end. We were in for 1,000. We were out for 1161, so we were up 161 this session. Not as good as the last session, but with all the punts that we had in this session, it was good to be able to pull out a win. Also, remember, like, subscribe, comment down below. I do go through all the comments. I try and respond to all of them. So please, it's been great. Keep them coming. Also, don't forget, we got the big giveaway coming up. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we will be sending out 5 lucky winners, a Poker Punx hoodie and a Poker Punx card protector. So all you have to do is make sure you're subscribed. When we hit 500, I'm going to pick 5 names at random and I'll get in touch with you and send them out. And always remember, run it up the punks.